And of course, our day is going to start with a cup of coffee, just that moment in which you are going to relax for a little bit and plan the day ahead. We are going to find something to do in this hot day in LA. Therefore, we have decided to do some interesting activities that are very recommended for parents who have kids, especially who have very young kids. Today's plan is to go to the LA Zoo, spend some time at the pool, and also do some puzzle. So let's see how we are going to incorporate all those activities. But first, it's time to enjoy the first cup of coffee this morning. Emily, what did you do?
I built a math puzzle.
It's a puzzle.
It's a puzzle.
And that's America. That's the United States, right?
Yeah, that's where we.
Where do you live? Tell mommy, where do you live?
We will live right here, Daddy and Mommy, and me. I right here. We live.
And
right
what
here.
is that called?
America.
And what is the state called? It's called California.
California is where we are.
Good.
Cheese.
And here we are at the LA Zoo. Of course, we start with something very peaceful, very quiet. Emily just loves going to see the sea lion. It's such a beautiful view, and I saw so many people, especially parents with young kids, spending a lot of time there. The sea lion is a huge success, and honestly, I enjoy looking at it too. And later on, something that I would strongly recommend is just taking the time to enjoy absolutely everything that we watch in documentaries, but we don't really have the chance to see that in real life. The alligators are a huge success. We were there at around 11 a.m., which is a little bit late, to be honest. It's always better to be there early. 10 would be ideal when the LA Zoo really opens. And the alligators were sleeping, but you can still see that
Why do they stand so?
their presence is so obvious there. Of course, we did go to the store, so we spent a good amount of time at the store, and you don't really have to buy anything. You can just go and look at the things that they have. In the majority of the cases, kids are going to ask for something, so trying to find an animal that they love or a new animal that they had never seen before to add to their collection of fluffy animals. Sometimes there are offers. So, for example, when we went there, you could buy 2 fluffy toys for $40. Sometimes there are different offers, but this was like a pretty good deal, and the quality was really good as well. So it's something that I would recommend. At the same time, please do not leave the store without looking at the book selection. It's amazing, especially if your kids love the animals. You could just find a book that works for them. The flamingo one was the one that we chose, and it's beautiful and it has a ton of pictures. It's a very good quality, and the stories are really interesting. that's very interesting at the stores is that if you're a tourist, you can get very interesting souvenirs, but at the same time, if you want to buy a gift for the people back home or even for yourself, there are some very interesting selections, and you can choose. There is absolutely something for everyone. Personally, I did enjoy the coffee mugs. I'm definitely someone who is addicted to coffee, good coffee, and that was a must for me. There were so many interesting things for kids as well. I particularly enjoyed the selection of t-shirts. Very interesting, very good material, lots of logos, lots of animals, and it might be something very interesting to buy, especially for the start of school. And the colors were amazing this time as well. They change, they do not offer the same things over and over again, of course, but in July it is always something that really reminds you of summer, and it would be a good thing to have as a memory, but of course also something that you can use later on. Of course, the flamingos were something that attracts definitely the attention of the kids, of the adults as well. Personally, I enjoyed all the toys this time. I think they had the best selection ever. And in terms of the price, I could say that this time of the year the price was very reasonable, considering that it's a huge tourist attraction.
This is the snake's home.
And we had to go, of course, to the second section of the LA Zoo. I always used to avoid this kind of animals when I was a child myself, but being a parent, I believe that we should provide the opportunities to our children to see um, the different kinds of snakes. Even though we might not like them, we might feel scared of them, they do exist, they are important in our ecosystem, so it's a good opportunity to talk about them to the kids, choose the right words, and allow them to see them at the zoo in real life. And it's going to help some of our kids with the phobia that they might have. Emily has a feeling of disgust that borders fear of all the snakes, and it's basically because of the media. She's a huge fan of Mowgli, and whenever she sees like the snake in the movie, she's constantly afraid. But when we went to the zoo and when we started talking about all the animals and we started just looking at their colors, but also being realistic and saying that, well, these animals are dangerous, it really helps.
Shape of Lovey.
Emily, do you like them?
Yeah, they're so cool.
Something that kids really enjoy is especially looking at the animals that they do not really find in their own countries. So, kangaroos, for example, there are so many books about them, and even though they might be quite common in Australia, they are not in California. So, just being able to see those three kangaroos at the zoo, I'm sure there were more, but we were able to see only three. We also saw the baby kangaroo, so that was interesting too. So, just being able to see all those animals and especially looking at the way they walk, which is very peculiar of kangaroos, is something that did get the attention of everyone. And from the kangaroos, we went to the gorillas. It was a little bit hard, I should say, to be able to have a close view. There were so many people. Obviously, it's a huge tourist attraction, but at the same time, it was a Sunday. So if you have the chance to go on another day, probably a weekday, make sure that is not a holiday and you take advantage of that. But even seeing the gorillas just eat their snack or just lay down to take a nap was something that really made Emily just so excited, and she was all bubbly and making comments about what she saw, so definitely worth it. And of course, we cannot forget the giraffes. They are so graceful, so tall, and honestly, I can spend minutes, long time just enjoying the way they walk. They seem very friendly in the sense that they look at the visitors. They kind of allow you to enjoy that show, and with little kids, that's a huge success. Like sometimes when you want to see other animals, you have to fight so that the kids can just decide to leave the giraffe area and go and look at the other animals. So definitely a must see if you are around. The LA Zoo is beautiful, it's gorgeous. However, there is something that you need to keep in mind, especially if you go there in July. If you're going to look for the elephants or the tigers, make sure you go there early. We were there a little bit late, so know that if they are sleeping somewhere, they are going to be in the shade, hidden somewhere, and you are going to miss out on the opportunity of watching them real close. So make sure you go there early, or if you happen to be in the area during springtime, definitely make sure but to go there early as possible. If you're there in the heat, as I said, you might miss out on a few opportunities. Something else for kids to really enjoy is what you can see right now. You might be tired because, trust me, there is a lot of walking, but just being there towards the end of your walk, and if you have to stay with your child, that's okay. I guess your child needs to be more than 42 inches tall in order for the child to be by themselves. But if your child is less than 42 inches tall, you have to be with them just for safety reasons. But trust me, you can still enjoy that little ride at the end of the LA Zoo. And yes, you can tell that she is tired. She is exhausted after a long day, but it was worth it.